Hi, everybody. My name is Aaron Shea, and welcome to Habitat Now. It is an amazing opportunity to reach the level of the winners of NGG 2022, which is a show called Not Grandma's Glass, focused on artwork that's not in Grandma's art collection yet. But there are so many artists that are in this little event, and it's such a fun way to bring attention to some artists that we wouldn't normally show at the actual gallery and exhibition, but we have, and we're going to keep pushing forward and bringing forth the attention I believe are part of the movement of glass and are going to be incredibly important in the future. So today I'm joined by artist Pearl Dick. You can wave, Pearl. Hi, Pearl. I'm going to take over your screen real quick and start this little housekeeping, I call it, of stuff going on. So if you haven't visited the NGG website, it's called notgrandmasglass.com. You can see the previous winners from the previous years up here, and we're in the middle towards the end of 2023. It's crazy how time is flying. So I'm going to get over to my PowerPoint. Here we go. So we do these Zooms every Saturday. You're always welcome to come. If you missed them, watch them on replay on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit that bell, and share the word. This is a lot of fun visiting artists from around the world. We have picked out our dates for the Sarasota Glass Coast weekend. Plan on being there, please. It's going to be an incredible time. I just found out recently that the Sarasota Art Museum is going to have an exhibition of the Bash collection, which it's going to be great to see that in public view. All the events we have, it's going to be our next big thing besides what we have in the gallery. So save those dates, early February 1st through the 4th, and we'd love to see you. Opening this month, the 23rd, is a solo exhibition by Zora Polova and Stefan Pala, two incredible, talented artists that have pushed the medium beyond, and they continue to today. Their work is just incredible. They continue to be masters, and I'm so grateful to have them in our gallery. So come and see it. If you don't see it, we'll send it out virtually, do all that kind of stuff, but it's definitely worth seeing in person because you all know that glass needs to be experienced. If you missed last week's talk about AI and the future commissions, you definitely got to do this. It was a lot of fun last week. We used an artificial intelligence to create artwork based on artists. And I'll give you a little example. This was a Vivian Wang created with a Mr. Glass pseudonym. Everybody helped out in the actual virtual art creation process. And we put this piece together using our own words and her artwork. So it's a great way of taking the commission process and creating a whole new avenue. We're going to be offering this on our website and services of artists that you like. So think about working with us if you ever want to work with a commission. All right, back to NGG. So 12 months. Pearl's our girl. Thank you for being here, Pearl. It's amazing to have you. Say hi to everybody, please.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
So grateful to have you join us. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And we're so looking forward to catching up with you after the year since we last met with you, celebrating NGG last year and catching up on what's going on. So give us the 411, I guess the kids say, right?
I guess so. Thank you so much, Aaron. Thank you for having me. Was it last year that we did this? January or
I think
so?
it was last January. Yep, we did this. Wow. 2022, the beginning of the year. It's been
amazing. It's been a year. It's been a year.
And more.
Thank you for having me back. I'm honored to be on this call with you all, and thank you all for being here on this beautiful Saturday holiday weekends. It's really great to see some old friends here and a hallway and an open door. So I'm thrilled to be here with y'all, and many of you know me, some of you don't, but so if you do know me, you know I'm like fairly easygoing. I am very happy to just like have a free-flowing conversation. If anybody wants to chat or say anything, like as I'm talking, I've got a few photos I'll show you. Please feel free to just like jump in there. Or Aaron, are they allowed to jump in there?
Absolutely. Anybody can jump in. The format is set by you. I'm here just to moderate. Kick out the kids. That's what I do.
Aaron has muted all of you. So if you do want to say something, just unmute yourself and feel free to jump in.
Yeah.
I don't want to take a ton of your time. I realize, you know, everybody's busy and it's a Saturday and holidays and whatnot. So I'm going to jump right in. But it's good to see y'all. Thanks for having me. And Aaron, we didn't test this out before we started, but I
Right.
can screen share and
Yep.
show some photos. Yeah.
Click the green button and click on share
Okay.
screen. And
So I'm gonna
hopefully
do
this will
that.
work, or you're going to be talking.
Um, I'm
Right.
gonna try this.
You got it. You got your
You
slide.
see that?
Perfect. Yep.
Okay.
Look at that. It looks cold there.
Well, okay, so I start with this photo because I can't wait for this weather. It's been so hot all summer, and people are saying like, oh, Chicago, it's been like a relatively mild summer. And I know other places in the country have had it considerably worse. But when you're in a glass studio, everything is hot. And if you have a 90-degree day, it's just that much more challenging. So I'm showing, this is our studio, Firebird Community Arts, in East Garfield Park. And I'm showing this picture of winter because I'm conjuring it up in my mind anytime it's so blazes hot in there that we're just like struggling to like survive while we're blowing glass. So it's supposed to be in the 90s again here in Chicago this weekend. So for those of y'all who are local or people in Tucson or places where it's hot all the time, you can just like have this little moment to remember that in some places in the world, it will get cold again. So many of you know my studio, Firebird Community Arts. We're a nonprofit, 501c3. We're in East Garfield Park. And, you know, we do a lot of work with, oh wait, do you guys, is there like a bar at the top, like that you can see this?
We can see it looks perfect on our
The
screen.
screen sharing thing, or do you see the images or the
bar is just in your screen. We can see fine.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, so we do a lot of work with young people in Chicago. We have a program called Project Fire that works with young folks who've been injured by gun violence in Chicago, and we do glass blowing as a way to teach young folks all sorts of skills, not just about glass blowing, but about like, you know, communicating with each other and how to like sell your artwork and how to work together, but so glass blowing and ceramics. And we also work with mental health professionals to heal trauma through psychoeducation. So, and several of you I know have been to our studio, but you know, here's some shots of folks working there. We have young women and young men who have separate cohorts of their programs, but they all work together and they mingle together. But these group of girls are just the most badass, y'all. They're like so strong, so powerful. And when we first started, we were mostly working with young men. And unfortunately in Chicago, well, part of the prerequisite of our program is that young people have to have been injured themselves. So a lot of people are impacted by gun violence here. But for Project Fire, it's people who've been shot themselves. And there just weren't as many young women when we started this program in 2014. And unfortunately, there became a need for programming specifically for young women. And because we do the mental health groups along with the art making, we created an entire group just of young women. And I remember the guys saying, you know, like when we we're like, yeah, we've got a whole new group of girls coming in. They're like, oh man, they're gonna blow us out of the water. And in fact, they did. But so we work with young folks in all sorts of ways, glass blowing, but also like this photo on, well, it's my left. I'm not sure how y'all are looking at it, but that's solo. We will take young people to vote. You know, we'll educate people about what's happening in Chicago, what's happening nationally. Dan Trell Blake, who's on the right, is like an interrupter. He's like a violence interrupter. He goes into neighborhoods and mentors young people. And he was involved in street activity himself when he was younger. And he has now come out of that and recognize that he can actually be an influence in preventing young folks from getting into the same kind of activities that he got into when he was like 12, 13 years old. So he's doing a lot of great work. And he's also a musician and a dancer. We have flame working in our studio, which a lot of folks have really been into. It's a very accessible way to work with glass. This is one of our teaching artists on the right, Danny Ellis and Tyshawn making some pieces. And we also do ceramics in the space. And ceramics is not my first love, even though I went to Alfred University, where, you know, as many of you know, is got a, you know, storied reputation in terms of ceramics. But I've been on the glass side, but the ceramic activities are a really wonderful way to get people involved, actually making with their hands, like where they can touch the material and work together in groups. And for folks who were a little intimidated by the fire aspect of glass blowing, this is a really accessible way for them to like be creative and make things. In this particular group, we're making a group pizza. So we made like a big circle and we cut it into pizza slices and we all got our own slices to decorate. And then we put it all back together. It was pretty fun. We had some very interesting pizza slices. One of them had a Band-Aid on it. One of them had a rat on it. Some were very literal.
That's great.
Cool.
Sounds delicious.
Oh, yeah, clay pizza. So I guess this slide talk, and Aaron, I know we didn't really like go into like, you know, like what this is about. You were just like, oh, just talk about yourself. I'm not showing a lot of my work here. What I basically did was I put together a slideshow of a year in review, essentially. So I went back to right now, 1 year ago, and then kind of went back from there and just picked out a few highlights. It's not an all-inclusive list of the things that has happened over the course of this year, but so this is a year in review. So like the slides I'll be showing are all kind of chronological, starting from right now. So this is a picture from the front yard at Pilchuck Glass School, where I was this time last year. And I imagine most of you are familiar with what Pilchuck is. I don't know if you've been there, but I just started engaging with Pilchuck in the last couple of years, really. And I've been blowing glass for over 25 years. And I've, of course, been aware of it, but had never really been able to go there and or just got busy and starting to do things, building studios and whatnot, and just didn't really make it there. And I think I was one of, it felt like just a few people who'd been in glass for as long as I had, who hadn't been to this, like, you know, incredible place. This, so it's on a tree farm. It's on 13,000 acres of tree farm, and founded by Dale Chihuly. It's, you know, world-renowned glass school. And I was invited to come out. This is how I got there. Is I had already been sending young folks there, and, you know, through scholarships. And I had realized I'd never been there myself, but how I actually got there myself was I was invited to come and be the first ever inclusion coordinator. We were calling it inclusion counselor at the time. And this is my office. This is one of my offices on campus. It's called the Little Berry. It's like a little library of sorts, and that is a working fireplace. And this inclusion counselor position came out of like a 2-year project. I was on a committee for Pilchuck. It was the DEI committee, so diversity, equity, and inclusion. And myself and a whole bunch of other glass artists of color were asked to come in and help Pilchuck get more inclusive. And one of the things that came out of this was actually having somebody who would go and be on campus and on staff to help foreign students that were there, artists of color that were there, people acclimate to this very, very rigorous environment where you'll go for 2 weeks, live in the woods, and you're creating every day and nobody's sleeping. And it's like a very charged environment. So I was honored to go and be an inclusion counselor there, and I would meet with people in this room, and I would call them fireside chats. And that name kind of like came into my head as like, oh yes, we're just, you know, I'm not going to call it counseling. I'm not going to call it therapy, because I'm not a trained therapist, but we'll have these fireside chats, and I would light a fire. This is the view from my office. And folks would come and talk to me about things that they were experiencing. And it was like an eye opener in terms of what the needs were for people that, not only students that were there, but staff that were there that just needed like somebody that they could talk to, you know, somebody they could process what they're going through. So it was a really cool thing. And as part of that, we devised this program, and we devised it so that somebody could also take a class So somebody would come in, be an inclusion counselor for a session, and then get to take a class. So as part of this, I got to take my very first class ever at Pilchuck. These are some things I was working on. I took Jeffrey Sarmiento and Aaron Dixon's class. And it was stuff that I had no idea about. It was like water jet cutting glass. It was a lot of technology. It was like screen printing on glass. It was like different ways to get imagery onto glass that were outside of the realm of what I had played with at this point. So these are just a couple weird pieces. And sorry, I couldn't flip this slide. So I've got to look sideways. Oh, maybe I did flip the slide. Anyway, so I got to go and take a class and was experimenting with, oh, these are not the, okay, there's, all right. So this time last year, like right now, I was at Pilchuck after having been the first inclusion counselor for the session in the summer. And I was making my work. This was my very first office. We created this little neon sign from some pieces that Ben Wright had around. And this was my very first office there. This was like a little drive-up window that people could come by. I was sharing a space with the audiovisual person, but they could come by and get counseling. Some pictures. It was really so fun, you guys, to be a student again. And to get to like do something I didn't know about, and to get to like just play and just like, you know, make images and things that I wanted to make that didn't have to be going to a show or didn't have any kind of like function or purpose yet. Just things I wanted to make. These are some folks y'all might recognize. They were there on my first session there. It's Dante Marioni for the uninitiated, and Pike Powers. You know, two folks who've been huge in that community for decades. And here I was, having been decades in the glass community, but a brand new baby in the Pilchuck community. And these two just were so gracious and wonderful. And they're incredible artists, as you both know. There's Dan Friday peeking around in the background. This is Z. This is a young person who was working the grounds there. A lot of young folks go and just work at Pilchuck. They don't even take classes or teach or TA there. They go and work in like the kitchen or on the grounds crew, so they can just be in this environment and have a few opportunities to actually blow glass themselves and see some of the slide talks and interact with some of the artists. I met her at this time last year and was so impressed by her that she ended up being my TA for my class that I taught, which we'll get to. Again, it's chronological. This is a piece that I made that I put into the staff auction. It was really just, you know, like, I mean, some of you who know my work, it's, you know, often involves people, heads, faces, and very much about our connecting to each other. So this was my kind of response to my time there. I got introduced to some folks through Neon. This was a wonderful human that I connected with there who was doing some great neon stuff. And then and again, I'm going chronologically. This is not in order of importance. This is in order of time. So this is now the end of September last year, 2022. And I was invited to be on the Kelly Clarkson show, representing Firebird and our work there. And this is like super cringe for me, but again, I'm going chronologically, and this is, you know, just a sneak peek into stuff that you might not have seen or heard or whatnot.
You were great. I have this recorded on my DVR.
Oh my gosh, do you really? And you, okay, all right, thanks, Aaron. I hope you watch it all the time with your family.
I do, over and over.
It was an incredible opportunity to get out, and I don't know if many of you on this call know who Kelly Clarkson is, but she's a lovely human. She's very, very easygoing. Her show, which I had never seen before, being on it, highlights folks that are doing good work. And we are part of this Good Neighbor segment that had just started. September of last year was the first one. And every month they highlighted somebody who was recommended from their city who was doing good work in their community. And so Firebird was nominated, and we got to go on the show. So they sent a whole film crew to the studio in Chicago and filmed folks there. And then they sent two of us out to California to be on the show for the live taping. And this is Keontae Thomas. She and I went out to be on the show. This is Key in the back room, and it was still somewhat COVID times, so that's what the mask is, or the shield is. But this is the hall of folks who've been on this show, and this is Keontae's part of Project Fire, and she's walking through this hallway, and it's just like she's seeing like Kamala Harris on one side, she's seeing like these incredible like people on like the walls, and she's like, and I'm on the show too. So, it was a very, very cool thing. This is Key in the audience. Initially, we were all supposed to be on the couch together. And at the last minute, there was too many people on the couches. And so that Key was in the audience. But they did an interview with her that didn't make it onto the show, which was very disappointing, but they were so gracious with us and with her. This is me in makeup. This was after hair and makeup, and we were FaceTiming some folks back in Chicago. And one of the girls was like, "Miss Pearl, are you wearing makeup?" And so I was like, "Yeah, don't get used to it." She's like, "You look great." I felt so bizarre. I have never worn makeup in my life. But we were well taken care of. It was such a trip to be there. It was absolutely terrifying. I'm not going to lie. You talk about, I'm used to talking about our work. I'm used to talking in front of people in my space, but like walking out in front of a studio audience was absolutely terrifying. I've never been so scared in my life, but we managed to do it. Keontae kept me regulated. We kept each other regulated. And this is us in the green room, scared shitless. And at the end, to make up for cutting Key from the couch, Kelly Clarkson and Rosie O'Donnell was one of the guests on the show when we went. They took a picture with Keontae, which I didn't get a picture. Apparently most guests don't get a picture with Kelly Clarkson, but they were so impressed with Keontae that they went and took a picture. We have this framed in our studio here in Chicago. It's an incredible experience. So again, chronologically, right after that, came back to Chicago, went to the Wadsworth Athenaeum Museum in Connecticut. Brandy Culp had curated an art show and invited Grace Whiteside and myself to come and demonstrate in the atrium of this museum. And some of y'all might recognize Grace from Blown Away. They were a contestant on season 3 and is a good buddy of mine. So we went there and did that. It was a beautiful show. First time they've ever had a glass show at that museum, and it was the most highly attended show that they've ever had. It was beautiful. Right after that, we came back and we had our annual fundraiser in Chicago. And these two young folks, so all the way to the right, the guy in the black t-shirt, that's Dr. Brett Stolbach. He is one of the co-founders of Project Fire with me. He's a clinical psychologist who specializes in child trauma. And he and I got together to start Project Fire back in 2014. Him bringing the mental health and wellness side, and me bringing the glass focus side. And these two young men were in the program pretty early on. The one in between Brad and I, Deontay Holman, was in the first cohort of Project Fire in 2014 when he was 15 years old. And this is us graduating these two out from that program and officially into staff at Firebird. And those two are now teaching artists in our space and mentors to other youth. Here we are, we're working with an artist here in Chicago, Christine Tarkowski. And again, chronologically, this is like, this is October now of 2022. But so Christine Tarkowski is this incredible artist who uses our studio to create her work and hires our staff to work on her pieces with her. She's a good friend and colleague. She's a teacher, professor at the School of the Art Institute, and we taught glassblowing classes at our studio where she was the faculty for an off-site program, the first of its kind really in Chicago for glass at the School of the Art Institute. And these are some of the pieces that we created with her in our space. And of course, like all of our young folks went to see, this is just one opening. There were 3 separate installations that we've worked on with her over the years. And this is one of them at the University of Illinois, Chicago. And just her work is just amazing. And she's such a supporter. This is our crew there at her opening for this particular show. At the same time, you know, we're still doing work in the studio. Like, these are corporate awards that we do for several different organizations. This one was the Chicago Neighborhood Development Awards. And we actually won one of these awards. So we got to create our own award for this. It's for people doing great work in their neighborhoods. This is something that's called the Carnival of Fire, which we do every year with a fabricating studio called Vector here. They also do a lot of really big art installations around the world, and we collaborate them if they need a glass component and they do the metal component. And we had every year we do this Gorilla Glass situation where they do an iron pour and we blow glass. And it's just an incredibly fun experience. This year, the Carnival of Fire is September 30th at Vector Fabricating. If anybody's in Chicago and you want to go, hit me up. Immediately after that, we headed to Tyler School of Art and Architecture. We were invited to come and be resident artists there. And so for our young folks to go and teach the freshmen and sophomores in Tyler's glass program in Philadelphia. So this is Nkosi Barber and Keontae teaching a class at Tyler. You know, we all jumped in and got to like do some demonstrations and collaborations with the young folks there, which was just an incredible experience for everybody. On kneeling here, Bruce and Judy, this is a sneak peek. This is Leo Tukoski, who y'all will be meeting out in Chicago. Leo came and was a visiting artist during our residency. He's an artist based in Brooklyn, who's also a great friend and a really amazing artist. But he's going to be doing a visiting artist residency in Chicago at our studio this October. And the Midwest Contemporary Glass Art Group will be coming and meeting him on October 11th.
We're looking forward to that, Pearl. We
Thank you
always
for
love
hooking it
whatever
up.
we get to do with you. This in-depth opportunity to learn more about what you've been up to is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And Erin, please help me like move it along too if I'm taking too long on stuff. I don't have a ton of slides and I'll cruise through as needed. And if anybody,
you're doing great. Don't worry. I'll let you know.
Cool. Jump in, y'all. If you're like, okay, Pearl, move it along. You know, getting all sentimental. But so Judy has been huge in like getting the collector group to come to see us at our studio. So thanks, Judy, for doing that on behalf of the McGagh group.
Thank you, Pearl. It'll be our privilege.
It's going to be a good time. Of course, we cut loose in Philadelphia as well. On the far left, Jessica Jane Julius, who's the head of the program there, is just a treasure. She's just an amazing human. And Theo Brooks, who's right next to her, who was there working with us on site. This is Linquel Biggs. He's just an incredible teacher. He and Deontay have gone and done a residency recently at the Tacoma, or at Hilltop Artists in Tacoma. And we've got some of their videos posted online and on our website. But they were there showing out and doing their thing and teaching college students. I mean, Deontay on the right didn't even finish high school. Like he dropped out when he was 12. And LA is a brand new dad. He had a baby last Saturday, 1 week old baby. And both of these two have just been integral in our programs. They teach classes with us and they're incredible artists in their own right. This is another project that we embarked on shortly thereafter. It's like all of these like commission projects, these corporate awards and pieces that we do, like I create in the space with young people, not usually as young as this one, but you know, she was like hanging out. But we have an opportunity to create these pieces, and I choose these commissions really carefully. They're often organizations that I feel will support us in the city or that are doing really good work. This was the Chicago Landmarks of Illinois. Like it was an awards ceremony they had. And so on the right is the Stony Island Bank building. And on the left is going to be the new homeless museum that's on Taylor Street in Little Italy. And so these architects and designers were awarded for their vision on preserving Chicago landmarks and then turning them into something that can then go back to the community. So this is, you know, images of us creating some of these pieces. So at the same time of being able to work with these incredible organizations that are doing great work, we get to teach young people how to do these art making processes. So it's just a really great way to engage with our community, but also to learn how to do really cool, interesting stuff. So we created like 3D printed images of the buildings, wax models, and then we made them into glass. Around this time, we brought in a brand new group of young folks. And so these folks are all 14, 15, 16 years old. And these are some of the OGs coming in now, working with these young, this new young cohort of people and seeing themselves in these young folks. They're like, oh, mama, I used to be, they call me mama, all of them at the shop. They're like, oh, mama, that used to be me when I was 15 years old. And sure enough, it is. Again, chronologically, this is my dog, Petey, and he passed away, sadly, this past January. He was my best friend and longest adult relationship. I had him for 10 years. I found him in an alley in Chicago, and he was just my best friend. And Deontay, who was also very close to him and was my dog sitter, was holding a picture that we drew of him. We had been working on, and we really in earnest started working on this project more around this time. This is around January last year, working on the Chicago Race Ride of 1919 commemoration project here in Chicago. And the Chicago Race Ride of 1919 is something that a lot of folks are not aware of. It's not typically taught in schools. And it was one of the worst incidences of violence, race-based violence in Chicago's history. And it led to a lot of the things that are still plaguing us today: redlining districts, the highways separating Black and white neighborhoods, incarceration of Black folks in their neighborhoods as opposed to investment in their communities and through social programming. These are some images from that event. It kicked off when a young man, Eugene Williams, he was a boy, 17 years old, was drowned. He was murdered, actually. He was floating in Lake Michigan and floated over an imaginary line separating the white beach from the Black beach. And white folks on the shore threw rocks at him and he drowned. And everybody saw what happened, but nobody was willing to make an arrest of the white perpetrators of this murder of this young boy on a hot summer day in Chicago. And so folks got very upset. I mean, these are people congregating now around 31st Street Beach where this happened, or right around the 31st Street Beach in Chicago, demanding justice. And it kicked off some incredibly brutal violence around the city where gangs of white folks went and brutalized neighborhoods. So we are involved in a project that's ongoing. We're working on it right now, creating commemorative markers for the 38 people that were killed, and they'll be embedded in city sidewalks throughout Chicago. So we're creating glass pieces, which I'll show you some images, but these are some images that in our research from the Chicago Historical Museum that we were able to go in and look for any of the images that were available for the time. These are folks' homes that were just decimated by gangs of roving white vigilantes, trying to like quell the initial outrage of this white man not being brought to justice for killing this young Black boy. And so we dive deep into some of this very unfortunate and brutal past of our city. And in order to learn about, teach our young folks about, and then also draw correlations to the present for what was happening in Chicago 100 years ago, that we still have reverberation happening, things that are still happening today in our communities. But it was this really incredible opportunity to explore this history with them. So these are just some of the archival photos that you have to go into the Chicago Historical Museum to their archives and have like a special like permission to go and access these images. So we spent some time going and researching this history, and we used like some of what we found in the history and some of the images that we found to start to create these glass bricks. The brick was often used as a weapon during this time. And so we were creating these glass bricks. We're layering images that some of them are painted. Some of them are based on the person's history, who was killed during that violence. Like this was somebody, like one of the young person, like LA, I think made this, was responding to, this guy was just trying to get home and he was killed during this violence. And so he drew this path back home. This is referencing Eugene Williams, who was drowned. And just glass is just this incredible opportunity to layer imagery. And sorry, these pictures aren't amazing. It's ongoing, and some of these pieces are actually in a gallery show right now, but this is actually from an historical image. So that workshop that I took back in that September at Pilchuck was where I learned how to do some of this work, how to like do screen printing on glass, how to layer imagery and then fuse it together. And so we're working with young folks to come up with images to layer together to create this memorial project. And it's ongoing. We're hoping that the bricks will start to be installed summer 2024. Paul Hardwick was somebody whose history, we don't have images of a lot of the folks that were killed. We have a little bit of history on some of them, but we learned that he was just eating in a cafe in Chicago during this time period and was attacked and murdered by a group of white vigilantes. And one of the young folks drew this picture, which we put on his brick. This is a poem that some of the young folks in our program wrote. This is sandblasted onto a pane of clear glass, which is fused over a pane of black glass. And our young folks came up with this poem in response to, well, it was leading into a room in a gallery show that it was all sand on the floor, and a sound, just sound of like beach sounds and a dark space, and then one long rope that just extends along the floor of it. And actually this show is still up until the 9th. Here in Chicago, it's at the Weinberg Newton Gallery. But this was the piece that led into this installation that we put together talking about Eugene Williams. This is a shot from the gallery. So some of the bricks are on display, not embedded in sidewalks at this point. And in the background, one of the things that we did around this project was we're trying to like reclaim our joy, as well as talking about these really brutal things that have traumatized folks and have just been terrible things in our history. But in the background, like there are images of a beach day that we fostered for our young folks, where we went to that very same area where Eugene Williams was murdered. And we had a celebratory beach day. We got people swimming lessons. We had oversized swim caps. We had a barbecue and hammocks and music. And we just, we went and reclaimed that space. These are some images from the opening of that gallery show here. The Weinberg Newton Gallery is really this, it's incredible. It's got an incredible history. They highlight social justice causes, artists and individual artists and arts organizations that are working social justice. I mean, I've been trying to work with, this is David Weinberg. This is a talk we actually gave last Saturday, a panel talk about this project at his gallery, because our show's there now. But David Weinberg is a photographer. He's here in Chicago. I don't know, Judy and Bruce, do you know him? Or any of you Chicago peeps?
We don't, but do you know how long the show will be?
It's up until September 9th. So it's worth a look, and it's in conjunction with some other artists that did some really powerful work related to the race riot and racial tensions in Chicago and beyond. But so we had a panel discussion at the gallery last week, and it turns out that David Weinberg's retiring, and this will be the last show that he mounts in the gallery. Yeah, so we were really honored that we got to be a part of it. And I encourage y'all to look up their gallery. Their archives are pretty robust in the kind of work that they've shown in the past.
You know if they
Um,
recorded the talk? by
they
chance?
did, Aaron. Yeah, I know you were giving your AI talk at the exact same
Right.
time. I know I wanted to check yours out too, but yeah, it was recorded. And I just actually received the recording of it. So I don't
Yeah,
know if we'll
send it my way. I'll share it. Please do.
okay, we'll do. And we'll probably end up posting it on one of our YouTube channels for Firebird as well.
Great.
Um, so this was an early test of glass being embedded into concrete. Like, you know, it's going to be a much bigger project than this, but this was our tester. We put some glass in concrete and then we had it sitting out through Chicago's freeze and blazing hot summer. And so this piece has been sitting out for a year just so we could test the concrete and test the glass. But there will be a bronze surround that goes around the glass, and we're actually looking at making the glass bigger. We just got more funding to make this project more robust.
Why is
So,
the concrete blue?
well, that was the concrete company's choice, which
Oh,
is
okay.
not a thing. They were like, they're really cool. It's a concrete company. It's minority owned. It's owned by a Black woman here in Chicago on the South Side, and they love this project. And they've been wanting to be involved in it. And they're like getting into the history of it. And they're like, oh, Eugene Williams was killed in the water. Like this was their take on an artistic kind of concrete surround, but we're gonna dial them back a little bit, you know.
I think it's cool. I'd like more concrete should be blue. I think it's more interesting.
Yeah, right. Well, we're still gonna have concrete as an element. They're still gonna be partners in this project, but we're also working with some bronze fabricators to create a bronze narrative around it, so we have more information about the event. So people who stumble across these on the sidewalks all through mostly the south side of Chicago, but some in downtown Chicago, can go back and look into this history if they're curious about what went on. So
Right, you have a
Chicago
reference of
folks,
what it
what's
is.
that?
You'll have a reference of what it is and why.
Exactly. So we're working on this project also now, and probably will be for the next year or year and a half or two. And some of these.
Who's the people that brought you this project? What are they exactly called?
So the Chicago Race Riot of 1919.org, CR19.org is Dr. I think I have a picture of him. Here they are. This is Dr. Franklin Cozy Gay on the right and Dr. Peter Cole on the left, and me in the middle. These two folks, on the left, Dr. Peter Cole's a historian. He teaches at Western Illinois University. And Dr. Franklin Cozy Gay is the head of the Center for Nonviolence here in Chicago at the University of Chicago. And he's also a board member on Firebird's board. And they're good friends. And they started the CR19 project to draw awareness to this event back in 2019, when we were having if y'all remember, like it was a crazy time, 2019. It's when that Pilchuck project for the DEI commission got started. It was when George Floyd was murdered, Breonna Taylor, countless other folks were murdered. And it set off like a huge raising of awareness about inequities, racial inequities across the country. And so during that time, they started this monument project to commemorate the Chicago Race Riot of 1919, 100-year anniversary. And they approached us about helping to create the markers. And it's just grown from there. So this is at a bike ride that they organize on the anniversary of Eugene Williams' murder. And so we take a bike ride to all of the different locations where folks were all the locations where these markers will eventually be all through the South Side. So there's a bike ride and a historical talk about this event that they started. And these are images from this year's bike ride. We're getting there, y'all. We're in June now. And this was crazy for me too, to when I was like, Aaron, these folks know me and, whatever, I don't I the new work I have to show, I literally is laying in my studio right over here behind us, not photographed well. And,
we'll work on that. We'll work on that or not.
Thanks, Aaron. And I can do a little show and tell if we have time and the energy, but I started going back. I was just I'm just going to show just what one kind of general year looks like in Firebird's life. And so that's what you're getting, is just some of these highlights. And again, not an all-inclusive. We're still doing programming in our studio every day. But this is at the GAS conference in Detroit, where we were presenting artists this year. And this is at your gallery, Aaron. with the inimitable Laura Donifer. So we brought a whole group of folks. We brought 9 people to do to be demonstrating artists for the gas conference in Detroit. And here's some of our people. And here's our whole group actually that went. And we were rolling really deep, and they got to check out Raven Sky River's show that Habatat that y'all put on. Keontae, who you saw at the Kelly Clarkson show and who's there in the picture, got a scholarship to take a class at Pilchuck with Raven, and was just blown away, so moved by the experience. And so for her to get to be up and close to so many of his pieces was just truly remarkable. She was so inspired. I mean, we love his work and we love him, and we all were inspired by the work that we got to see. I mean, you all have the most impressive display of glass. I mean, so we could walk through that space, and I mean, just their jaws were on the ground, you know, like we're here in Chicago with SOFA, you know, when SOFA was happening. So folks would get to go and see things, but the way y'all have what you have and the way it's displayed was just really incredible for our young folks to get to experience. This was at one of the venues where we did our demonstration. We did a big collaborative piece, which was just all energy and all love. Back to Pilchuck. So this is now July, and I got to go and teach my very first class that I have ever taught at Pilchuck. They invited me to teach a sculpting course, and it was called Tending the Fire, Care and Community in the Hot Shop. And it was all about working together and creating projects collaboratively. So Z on the left was that person that was you saw early on in the slideshow that was like the weed whacker in the woods. She's now my TA. And this person, Maria, is from Mexico City, who's on the bench. She'd never gathered glass before. She'd never gathered glass, and she was in this pretty advanced class. But everybody this was like so indicative of the spirit. People came together and helped each other make their work. It was just such a beautiful experience. Danny Coyle on the right playing guitar made out of styrofoam, Z on the uke, and on the left is Liza Liu, who was a visiting artist, an artist in residence there. What an incredible human, an incredible artist. If y'all don't know Liza Liu, please go look at her work. If you've been to the Corning Museum's contemporary, like new contemporary wing, she did that big black coiled, like all the many hundreds of thousands of beads coiled up. She works with communities all over the world to create her work. It's fascinating.
How do you spell that? I'm Googling it right now.
Lizalou. Really just incredible artist and human. And she's like, I'm not a glass blower. I don't work with glass. I've never been here before. And she came and hung out with our class all the time. Because we were
is she Portuguese?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
She's white, I think.
I'll check it out. Our website. Yeah, cool.
This class was all about just creating in community. We did all of these really incredible group projects. And no matter what skill level you were at, no matter what your idea was, like the entire class came together to realize it. And it was just a beautiful way to work. So you got to be the leader of your group and learn how to lead in a really gentle way. But you also then saw what it was about to work with others, to like help them realize their visions. And it was just beautiful. It was so amazing. This is Randy. He makes smoked salmon for everybody every year. It's a real treat. Everybody's super into it. This is Jocelyn Prince. We did a group project with all the instructors. She's the head of the RISD glass program, and just, you know, somebody who I really look up to. And she's holding the remnant of a group project that we did, where every single like class came together and created this piece. And one of the classes, super nerdy class, like took wire and put it in into the molten glass and electrocuted it. And we were able to, just from the wire conducting through the hot glass, light up 2 lamps for our like opening demo. And that's one of the remnants of the piece that my group made. It was just a really incredible environment to get to create in and be creative with. This is an artist, Lonnie Holly, who was an instructor there as well. I mean, he looks like an art piece just on his own. This is an incredible artist, y'all. Again, please look up his work. He's a musician, he's a performance artist, he's a sculptor. just really honored that I got to like, you know, spend time and space with him in this incredible environment.
One more time on his
Holly.
name, Lonnie.
Lonnie Holly. I think it's LONNIEHOLLEY, Aaron, I think.
Gotcha.
Really
Make-
incredible artist.
Taking notes.
And this is my sweet, sweet class. We will all be friends for life. Like, just like trajectories were affected during this class. It was wonderful. Doug was in my class. He's a teaching artist at Hilltop now. And he went through, the Hilltop program is very similar to the Firebird program. So Hilltop was started by Dale Chihuly in Tacoma, Washington. And he was a student. He's a native Alaskan, and went through, and you know, had some hard times, went through this program, and now he's there teaching, which to me is just like, just amazing. And he took my class, and he was incredible. This is his mom next to him, who's this fabulous artist, Alaskan artist, and creates like woven work that is like, she's like one of the few people left that can make woven basketry the way she does. And that's his sister, her daughter on the right. And you guys, they made me, I don't know if you can see my screen at all, but they made me these incredible earrings. Can you see this? I don't know if you can even see where my little screen is. I can show them to you after I stop screen sharing. But she made me these tiny little baskets, and these are glass bead blueberries inside. And this was them presenting it to me after the class. And it was just one of the most special things I could have ever gotten from another artist. It was so incredible. It's really, really special. This was after that class. I think we're running out of time, and I'm going to cruise through this. This was the Better Together residency, which y'all will hear more about. We went to Philadelphia, it's actually Disclosure, The Whiteness of Glass. It was all glass artists of color were brought together to do a collaborative project. And a group of us were brought to Tyler School of Glass in Philadelphia to create pieces. I'm going to cruise through this because I've been talking a lot now. And you can learn more about this. I'm doing another talk on this project with Corning on November 9th. And I've got an article that I just wrote about this project in depth that's coming out in the next issue of Gas News. Which again, Aaron, I can send you links to this stuff if you want to send to folks. And I talk about this project in depth.
You should send it to Linda Green too at AACG.
Oh,
So
right.
she
Oh, yeah, I saw Linda was on
too.
there. Yeah, that's a good call. Thank you. I'll get that to you too, Linda. So out at Pilchuck, we had, now I've got like 2 slides left. Out at Pilchuck, they were, one of the classes was this mobile glassblowing unit. And I met Phil, Vincent, and Chuck, who create these little mobile glassblowing units, and they gave me one. I got this in Detroit and brought it back. This is me hooking it up at our studio. We're going to take these out and do outreach to like local schools and community events. And so we're going to bring glassblowing to the people. The summer was really hot. Half the time we weren't even blowing glass. I would just take kids to the pool. You know, like it's just too hot to blow glass sometimes. So you just got to go to the pool. I was supposed to be on the Kelly Clarkson show again this past summer. This is me doing a wardrobe test that I'm like, oh my God, this again. But it was canceled because of the writer's strike. And I'll end on this, y'all. We are in the process of a capital campaign, and we just applied to a large grant for it's called the Chicago Recovery Grant. We've applied to it 3 times and not gotten it. And this is the final time it's being offered. And we are looking to expand and build a new building just west of where we are now on Lake Street in Chicago. This is the architect's rendering of our Dream Vision studio here in Chicago. And we just submitted this grant on August 18th. We'll find out in November if we got it or not. It's for $2.5 million, which will raise another $2.5 million to make this happen if we can. And it's to build our dream studio with like a garden for people to be in. And this is in like a very industrial area of Chicago. For those of you who are familiar, it's Garfield Park. It's like Lake Street and Sacramento-ish. And I think that's it. So we're in the process of looking for buildings to expand into, getting grant money to help build out a space. And this is where we're at right now. So this brings us to today, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Thank you all for listening.
That was great, Pearl. Thanks for so much. I learned so much and shows me how busy you are, because you are incredibly busy by far, keeping active and helping your community. And I hope you get on the Kelly Clarkson show again when the strike is over, because you need to be on there sharing all this stuff in the brief time you have with them.
Well, this is the thing, Aaron. They they did that Good Neighbor segment once a month with all these different organizations, and they're all amazing. But so this follow-up segment was supposed to be for viewers to get to vote for their favorite good neighbor. So when it does come out, I'm gonna let y'all know, because you can vote for us if you'd like. I mean, all these other people are also amazing, but so you can vote for whoever you want. But so the follow-up segment will be so you can vote for your favorite good neighbor, and then we might get some, I don't know what we'll get, but they gave us $10,000 the first time around. And of course the publicity. So I'll keep y'all posted.
That's definitely key. I wanted to ask you, does that inclusion role that you were the first to do, is that continuing today?
Yeah.
That's
yep.
great.
I was there this past summer doing it again. And Doug, who I showed you the picture of, whose mom gave me the earrings. And for those of you who couldn't see, these little basket earrings.
I can spotlight you. There you go. Now you're much bigger.
Oh my God, they're so great. Aren't these amazing?
Oh, they're very fun.
Are.
Oh my God, I love them so much. They're so special. But so Doug, who was in my class, was my mentee, and it was the inclusion counselor after me this summer. So yeah, we're continuing it on. I hope Pilchuck continues to find funding for it, because from what I've heard, it's been very valuable for folks.
The property that you showed the schematic for your dream building, does your institution have that property that's empty now?
Yeah, it's empty.
It's a lot.
We're working with the city to give it to us. I mean, we're prepared to buy it, but we're hoping that the city will give it to us because it's vacant land. There's a ton of vacant land on the west side, and we're working closely with our aldermen and our state reps and whatnot to get it.
That's great.
It's for Chicagoans. It's right on the corner of Hillman and Lake Street. If you want to drive by and put some good vibes towards it. But it'll expand us out. Like, that is a 12,000 square foot facility that we have proposed, with another 6,000 square foot of garden and outdoor space that's all enclosed in this beautiful utopia. And right now we're in a slightly less than 4,000 square foot space.
That'd be my dream space as well. It's fantastic. It would be great to have events there and do all kinds of things to bring attention to what you're doing. Personal question: who made the mobile glass blowing unit that you got in Detroit? Love to know.
Oh my gosh, it's Phil Vincent. You don't know these guys? Phil Vincent and Chuck. I forget Chuck's last name. They're Mobile Glass Blowing Studios is the name of their company. And Aaron, they are beautiful humans. They're like, we love what you do. We know you're going to do well with this thing. Like I saw them at Pilchuck and got to know them well there. And then we saw them in Detroit at the gas conference. And he's like, that was his floor unit. He's like, if you can take this with you, you can take it.
Right. You're like, we're taking it.
Pay me when you can pay me. Just do your thing. I put it in the back of my car.
Right.
Keontae and the mobile unit were in the back of my car, my Subaru Outback, when I drove back to Chicago. I kid you not. I was like, move aside, y'all. So I fit that and kiddos in the back of my car and brought it home with me. And they're so generous. They will give this. They need this business to survive too. Like, this is their business. And I just found out that Phil is now going to become one of the lead designers for Blanco Glass, which was his dream. But they give away their equipment to organizations so that they can do outreach work, so that they can have an accessible place to blow glass. And it's just really incredible. They're such nice people.
That's incredible. This is the whole point of NGG, is obviously the opportunity to give back to communities, and the way the younger artists support those around them. It's such an eye-opening experience. The real first artist I had that I noticed was doing this was Matt S. Cookie, when he did his NGG and he wanted to give a portion of his pieces that he was making for the edition we did and released back to community, which he did. And this pattern keeps going on and on and on with the young people today that care about the whole art community, especially around them and beyond. And sharing the concept like this with these talks is so helpful, because I learn a lot. And those people who watch these later can learn a lot, who they reach out to and who they can work with and who they should meet, because there's people in every community who will work together, and the glass community is just simply great around every part of it. Any more questions for Pearl before we get going and let you enjoy the rest of your day, everybody? Well, I don't see any hands raised, so I want to say thank you, Pearl, for joining us today and being part of NGG. This will continue next month as we get into October, or yes, October. So we'll tune in for NGG next month, and then and then we continue doing these Zooms every single Saturday as long as we have some good content. So I'm so super grateful for you all to join me today, and come see the International, which is closed, but we still have most of it up as we kick into the show for Zora Palova and Stefan Pala. All right, everybody. Thank you,
Thank
Pearl.
you all so much.
Thank you.
This will be on YouTube, everybody, so check it out then too.
You.
Thanks,
Bye, all.
everybody. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you, Aaron.
You're welcome. Bye-bye, guys.